and they rate it on a scale called the Home Energy Rating System, or the HERS scale. And a typical house in Lawrence, a brand new home in Lawrence, needs to rate about 100 in order to pass, basic code, even though they don't test for it. In order to be Energy Star, the house has to rate at a maximum of 85. And that means that house is 15% more efficient than a brand new home. 0 on the scale is a house that uses net zero energy. So this house rated about 53.
Wow.
So it's about 47% more efficient than a brand new home.
You gave me an interesting percentage the other day when we were talking. You said 40% of a home's heating costs are contributed to air leaks. That's significant, and you've done some things in this home that make it a tighter home and prevent those air leaks. Let's talk specifically about the spray foam insulation.
Yeah, the big difference in what we do is we don't necessarily add a lot of insulation to this house. Matter of fact, it has about the same amount of insulation as a normal home.
Fascinating.
But the difference is the type of insulation we use. It's a spray foam, and it seals everything very, very tight. We spray it on the walls, it fills every void, and adheres to all the surfaces. And then we also spray it in the attic, and it seals up everything in the attic. And so our infiltration rate, or the amount that the house leaks, is about 1/7 what a brand new home would be.
So the other side to that, then, you've got this very tight environment.
Right.
The other important component to this is the air filtration system. Talk a little bit about that.
Now, since the house is so tight, the EPA actually puts a limit on how tight a house can be. A brand new home is right about at that limit, but we've gone way, way beyond that limit so that it's super tight, so that we have to bring in a constant supply of fresh air. And we do that with a device called an HRV, or a heat recovery ventilator. And it brings, like in the winter, for instance, it brings in cold air, and then it exhausts out an equal amount of warm air. But it warms the air that it brings in with the air that it exhausts out at about an efficiency of 85%. And it also filters all the air that you're bringing in. So in an average home, most of the air, all the air that you get in the house, it comes in through leaks. In this house, all the air comes in through the HRV, and it's all filtered. So if you have a lot of allergies or something like that, you have extremely clean air in the house. That was the second certification that this house received, was the Indoor Air Plus from the EPA. And it's a very tough thing to get, and we got it on this house.
That also affects some other things that people might take for granted. For example, when we toured the house the other day, there's no fans, there are no conventional fans in the bathroom. Explain that.
An Energy Star fan, bath fan, costs about $250. Well, I figured out a way where we could pipe all our exhaust air that goes to the HRV that we're pulling out of the house. We pull it all out of the bathrooms so that we don't even need any bath fans. And you can't even hear the fans run.
It's totally silent.
Yeah.
We also talked about some other things you do that are very relevant when it comes to the quality of the home as well as the energy efficiency and the green concept. You mentioned that you don't use a lot of lumber, or as much lumber as conventionally would be used. Why is that an important consideration, in addition to the lumber costs we're all reading about lately that have increased significantly?
One of the requirements of Energy Star is that without obviously compromising the structure of the house, you want to leave out as much wood in the wall as you can so that you can put insulation in its place. And that goes for the attic as well. We use what's called a raised heel truss, where we can get a lot more insulation all the way out over the top of the wall. This house has about 15 inches of insulation right directly over the top of the wall, whereas an average house only has maybe 3 or 4.
Even the eaves and the size of the eaves, that lends itself to a certain component protecting the site. Tell us about what advantage that brings.
Well, one of the problems you run into, we put longer overhangs on this house, 2 feet overhangs, kind of like they used to do back in the 60s.